Good morning, everyone. This is Robert T. Green, the CEO of Pre-Post-Game. Today is Monday, July the 2nd, 2018. We're doing the 4th of July edition podcast presented by the African-American athlete, Mr. Ricky Hampton, also Mr. Michael Robertson. Check them out every Tuesday from 10 p.m. Eastern to 11 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, as many people are going to be traveling. Wish you guys a safe holiday to and from, but also remember to take care of yourself, protect yourself, and be blessed. So today's edition, obviously with the decision, we're going to cover quite a few things, and I'm going to again try to explain to people and teach the sports business side. So once again, before we get started, let's put this to bed. What LeBron James has done and continues to do has never been and never will be about being better than Michael Jordan. The reality is Michael Jordan and the Jordan brand, the Jordan sneaker, all these different athletes and kids today over the last 20 years who never even seen Michael Jordan play, that continue to go out and spend hundreds of dollars for a shoe that might cost $9.99 to put together, is what this is all about. As my mantra, as you guys know, sports is not a game, and sports are all business. And again, just to go help people understand when he made the decision to go to LA, how athletes tend to dictate more than people really understand and help generate revenue for people who never contributed to their actual career one way or the other, on or off the court, the field, and so forth. The fact of the matter is, since LeBron James has decided to go to LA, he has now cost the Cleveland Cavaliers franchise up to $300 million, and in essence, going to LA has now basically driven twice the amount of revenue to the LA market. That has nothing to do with LeBron directly at all. So once again, when people talk about these athletes and the decisions that they make, my last podcast talking about how mental health and how decisions that's being made are not usually the athletes, and that's one of my biggest proponents, teaching the athletes the power and the value and the leverage that they have, because in the window of sports you have a short-term career. For those of you that are shocked that he went to LA, again, I said a few weeks ago to people on live and also on the record that he was going to LA. His children enrolled in school 2 weeks ago in Los Angeles. Yes, James has homes in LA, but one of the things that people talk about winning championships, the man has won a championship. He's been to 8 straight finals. I talk about that 87% versus the 13%. The 87% people want to follow and do what everybody else say do. The 13% actually have a vision and a thought process and direct it to as such. Now, LeBron going to LA, what you don't realize, the one key component of LA is a guy named Magic Earvin Johnson, a former LA Laker, a former champion. But most importantly, in the business sense of things, LeBron James is an African-American athlete who's 34 years old. Magic Johnson, who's obviously older, is the owner of the Los Angeles Dodgers, a sport where revenue generated is guaranteed to a lot of those players. Also, Magic Johnson has one of the most successful movie entertainment theaters in the world. For those of you, again, who don't know, LeBron James not only has his basketball career, but he's also now, even though and my thought process is a little late, but he also has a entertainment business. He also has a sports business. He also has his own brand, a sneaker business. And once again, when those say, oh, well, if you leave to go to LA, you're going to lose $11 million in taxes. And again, not understanding the business, LeBron James has a $1 billion lifetime agreement with Nike, no matter where he goes, even if he goes to Mars, to the moon. So once again, you got to understand the decisions that these young men make and why they're making it is business, always business. Credit to LeBron, credit to Michael Jordan for understanding that, but the reality is that's only two. State Farms in particular, and again the NBA as a whole, generated $1.2 billion regarding sponsorships, such as State Farm, Papa John's, all these different areas of things that have nothing to do with basketball. But what athletes do, they generate followers, they generate attention, because again, these athletes can do things that the average person cannot do. And at the end of the day, for people that continue to get mad about LeBron making the money he's making, or the 4 years, $154 million, I want to explain to you, when these athletes are making 4 years, $154 million, as I said, LeBron staying in Cleveland would have gave Cleveland Cavaliers and Dan Gilbert, who doesn't play basketball, $300 million for just sitting there watching LeBron. So once again, when you talk about what these athletes make, if you're going to be upset of something, be upset about those behind them that actually generate the revenue. People wonder why that the President of the United States attacks athletes the way they do. Athletes have power that people don't really understand, not just in the United States, but around the world. And again, it's mainly our fault, because as a parent, when you begin to have your daughter or your son start to look at sports, and you go out there and buy them a ball or a bat or some type of uniform, or you pay for some sports league for them to play, but you take all the responsibility if your son gets hurt or your daughter gets hurt from an insurance purpose, you never even start to ask that question to that person like, well, if my kid gets hurt, why am I paying for the insurance and you charging people to watch my kid and I'm not getting compensated for it? So the learned behavior of it all, even going all the way to the point where you got the Nike opening going on right now with all of these kids, where it's about 100 and something kids that's going to be playing, doing tug of rope, 7-on-7 tournaments, a lot of agents in the National Football League who have nothing to do with these kids, a lot of people that's what we call runners in this business around these kids are in front of their face, in front of these parents' faces. And literally because Nike says, hey, wear our jersey, wear our product. Again, that's cheap labor and cheap marketing. So once again, out of those 30 guys that make it, you have a group of kids now that is inspired to be the National Football League. And for the 30 that make it, you now took your shot to actually get their thought process, say, hey, you know what, to be great, to be successful, you must wear Nike. Again, people, particularly when it comes to shoe sales, Adidas, Under Armour, Nike, Reebok, you name it, people buy them and kids continue to wear them because of the athlete that actually put them on their feet. Not because they look cool. Not because they're great quality, as I mentioned earlier. The Jordan shoe, it's not great quality, but yet people stand outside on Saturday nights, don't have that money to pay their bills, but they'll kill for shoes just because it's a status symbol. You know, the only person that can change that is those are the ones that are buying it. So it goes back to the 87-13%. And which side that you on and what you trying to do. So again, wanted to congratulate LeBron James in his decision, because again, when it comes to long-term generational wealth as an athlete, when it comes to understanding your worth, when it comes to making business decisions, when it comes to recognizing why you're in this and what you need to do while you can, as long as you can, it's the ultimate move and power move regarding that. Again, if you're in LA and Hollywood and LeBron James is the most recognizable basketball player in the world, and then Hollywood in essence is the top media market in the world, then why wouldn't you go there? That's the ultimate smart business decision. Once again, why I said what I said months ago that LeBron James would be a Laker. There's nothing else he can do for the Cleveland Cavaliers, regardless of those that say that he's the GM, he's this, he that. It doesn't matter. The reality is why the NBA is getting $1.2 billion in sponsorship. Not the players, but the NBA, is because of guys like LeBron James and Steph Curry and Chris Paul, Carmelo Anthony. The list goes on and on for what they can do that no one else in the planet can do. That's the secret to sport. So when the athlete and the family start to recognize that without you, none of these other things exist, then you will now see more guys that have generational wealth from the African American perspective, but just in perspective in general. A young man who was drafted number 2 in the NBA never attended the NCAA. He played in Europe for his either club teams or for his country. And in essence, he still was drafted in the lottery, picked number 2 overall. So when you talk about education, the NCAA keep perpetuating about education. I can't tell you how many guys have basically now in the National Football League or NBA that are so uncomfortable even discussing and knowing what their own business is. Because again, it's about pride. And when you go through a whole system of, hey, focus on the game and everything and take care of itself, you become almost, like I said, a sheep in headlights. Yeah, you can run, you can jump, you can carry the ball. But now you got to make a decision when it comes to taxes and when it comes to your own family. When you say you want to do something for your family, you think you're about to be in a league and you see millions, but you don't realize that depending on the state or whatever business entity you under, you have 39-point-something% or possibly 35% with the new tax rules that actually change. There's not an agent out there that's telling you or talking to you about this, because once again, what the agents aren't telling you, as in the 2018 Trump tax code, agent fees are now non-deductible. So when agents were charging players $400,000, $500,000, $600,000 many years ago, and they would say, well, there's a tax threshold, you have to spend the money anyway. You want to spend it this way so you can get under that threshold. This is why I actually, before this actually even happened, my company was created, that we don't do percentages. We help develop your actual company and your business, and that's leveraged for you. But at the same time, tell you what you need to know, not necessarily what you want to hear. And the fact of the matter is that if you're going to lose hundreds of thousands of millions of dollars on someone, you should lose it on yourself, doing what's best for you. And that leads me to my next point. Many people have talked about recently, a post came out where Saquan Barkley said he's going to take the Marshawn Lynch route and invest. So I'm going to be the first and only one to tell you the fact of the matter is Marshawn Lynch never said that he invested. He never invested. So I had so many people that reached out to me and so many people on LinkedIn from a financial world standpoint, all these banks saying, oh, smart young man. No, that's not smart. First of all, what Marshawn Lynch did, for those who don't know, he was a guy called Beast Mode. Started his career in Buffalo, played a lot of years, currently playing for the Oakland Raiders. Played in Seattle for the Seahawks. Most of you know about him for the guy that does eat Skittles, or he doesn't really talk a lot, or that they didn't give him the ball at the 1 yard line against the Patriots when they won the Super Bowl. So the fact of the matter is, what Marshawn Lynch was, he was cheap. So what Marshawn would do is he wouldn't spend money on people outside of his circle that he didn't feel like benefited him. That's how he was able to save his money. However, Marshawn Lynch, the man, the young kid, still made a lot of bad decisions regarding life in general, whether it's carrying weapons, crossing the straight lines, doing all types of things that got him in trouble off the field. However, he was able to maintain his money because he invested in himself, not the industry. I can't stand to see so many kids talk about what they're going to do for their families after these families have spent money. Like right now, Nike opening. This parents spending thousands of dollars to travel to get hotel, flights, room and board, all these different things to get their kids to go to an event at Nike. But yet, if they are fortunate enough to make it to the NFL, then all of a sudden, these kids don't know what to do. They don't know how to take care of their families. They don't know their tax code. They don't know anything. So the reality is, when you do things like that, people start to actually not make sense when it comes to things you're trying to get done. So again, it's kids that's making millions right now, but their parents, their grandparents are living in the same situation they was living in way back when. That has to change. And again, we're here to help change that at pre-post game. So the reality is, when you talk about what Saquan is talking, and hopefully this young man, again, who's also currently signed with the Roc Nation brand and group, for you guys to understand that Jay-Z, Roc Nation, also as of 2017, created his own investment company and firm. Now again, when you talk about investments, if you don't understand stocks and bonds and mutual funds, you've been broke your entire life, but all of a sudden now you want to put your money in someone else's hands that you don't truly understand, not even understanding the term of investment advisor versus broker. Again, you're setting yourself up for failure. But when they announce themselves as a financial advisor, that's pretty much where it stops for you. You no longer have an idea what's going on, so you're going to trust somebody from what they say. And again, I don't need to talk about Jay-Z or Roc Nation, but I'll say this. Jay-Z was a rapper, still is a rapper, had Roc Nation for a long time. There's guys such as Dame Dash, Memphis Bleak, Freeway, Beanie Siegel. How come they aren't doing so well financially as he is? But yet athletes that are coming into the industry with millions of dollars are now taking their talents to go somewhere with someone who never actually even known or understand the industry. Be the 87 or be the 13. LeBron James is the 13. Again, when you basically spend your whole life and wanted to be in the NFL since you were 8, 9, 10 years old, there's things in this industry, business-wise, you have access to. You can learn. You can ask questions. If the person you're asking the question to can't give you the answer, as I say all the time as a player's rep, when you talk to people, they should be doing 3 things. And again, if they're not doing 3 things, you should not listen. One is educate. Hopefully this video you're watching right now is educating. So again, I'll say if you like or hear what you're saying, please like and share this video to help educate other people. Empower. Are you teaching me to do something for myself that literally, I may need you to a certain point, but at the end of the day, in sports, that window closes. Have you empowered me to be able to be successful myself so I can take care of my family and not yours? And the last thing is protection. Are you going to teach me something that literally no one else is talking about that can protect me from stop making the same percent as 80% of athletes go broke after 2 years of retirement? But not only physically broke, but mentally broke. Because once again, I talk about mental health. So when you basically live your life to basically people cheering you on and talking about how great and wonderful you are, and now all of a sudden now they don't answer your phone call, that's debilitating mentally, emotionally, socially, and financially. Because now you basically going to have to pay for people to smile in your face and make you feel good about yourself. Self-worth is about you, self-worth. If you need someone else to corroborate or to identify, validate your self-worth, you are doomed. And a lot of these things happen as early as, like I said, the youth level in sports right now. That's why, again, I can't stand to see adults yelling at 5 or 6 or 7-year-old kids. Because at the end of the day, you're trying to live vicariously through them. You're trying to make them believe that without you, they can't be successful. And as a player, I'm here to tell you that's absolutely not the truth. So once again, for those that continue to not understand the whole scheme of things, when ESPN is willing to put out an actual article and says that he's going to do the Marshawn Lynch model and talking about investments, I, as a player's rep, going to do this actual podcast right now to let you guys know that's not actually the truth. The reality is what you could do, Mr. Barkley, you can invest in yourself, not the industry. You cannot put money into the investments. Again, Mr. Saquon Barkley, if you don't know, has had a child right before the NFL draft. So there's a 18-year investment he also has now. So the reality is, again, to say that you're going to take money out of your kid's mouth and put it somewhere else based off of what you do not understand is highly irresponsible. And again, 87-13. When someone told you to invest, based off Marshawn Lynch. You look at the history of Marshawn Lynch. What investments did he tell you that he made? Or did someone come to tell you, point at Marshawn Lynch and say he got all his money? Sports is not a game. Sports is all business. To recap, my name is Robert T. Green. This is the 4th of July pre-post game podcast sponsored by the African American athlete, Mr. Ricky Hampton and Michael Robinson. Check them out every Tuesday from 10 p.m. to 11 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. They talk about sports from an African American perspective, from the past, current, and obviously the future. Today being the day that LeBron James takes his talents to LA to work with someone who is the owner of a baseball team, with someone whose net worth is almost close to $1 billion, such as his, with someone who also been where he wants to go in regards to all things on and off the field. And again, for those that says LeBron James 4-year, $154 million deal is too much. Well, again, the NBA got paid $1.2 billion this year, sponsorships across the board, and none of them play basketball, none of them play soccer, none of them play football, none of them putting their bodies on the line and risk for things of that nature. However, once again, like I said, without that actual athlete, sports in America is the only thing you could do career-wise that you could actually make a huge amount of wealth, but then turn around and then do it without having a lot of other people as a part of it. You know, nothing gets me more excited or passionate about explaining, like, hey, people work every day, talk about their 401k, talk about their investments, their IRA, their stocks, their bonds, their retirement plan. And if I, as a person who's 40 now, said that, you know what, I worked the job for 20 years and now I made it to save $5 million, where past taxes, I have that for the rest of my life to retire. There's a portion of this country, once you get $5 million at any point in your life, can retire, have everything you want, and not have any issues. Yet we have athletes making 40, 50, 60, 170 million, $200 million. And again, I'm going to point this out, such as Justin Tuck, former New York Giant, 11-year guy who now has a job at Goldman Sachs. Now, do you think Goldman Sachs hired Justin Tuck because he's Justin Tuck? Or do you think he hired Justin Tuck because he played in the Super Bowl and Goldman Sachs wants investments for kids like Saquan, Barkley, or Loa who don't know anything? If I made $40 million in my life, why am I running a company, or why am I doing financial advisement for Goldman Sachs? Why do not I have Justin Tuck Financial Services? Do I need to be validated by Goldman Sachs to let people know that I know what I'm talking about in finance? If I have the education, sports is not a game. Sports is all business. Again, my name is Robert T. Green. I'm the Players Rep. Check me out, the Players Rep 1 on Twitter, the Players Rep 1 on Instagram. If this video educated, empowered, protected you anyway, please like and share. I wanted to take my time to educate you guys on the sports business as a whole. Hope you guys have a great holiday weekend. God bless and be safe.